time on this version of the show, JD Estrada is joining us, which is going to be this is a fun one. And we're talking about comic book collections. I mentioned him just like literally when we're done off the conversation tonight, I am putting up 44 comics for sale at Calgary Buy and Sell first. That'll be for the first 2 weeks. Then I'll be putting it in. If they sell, great. If they don't, eBay. And then every day thereafter, from tomorrow, I'm going to be adding more and more and more comics to the for sales thing until I get them all up there, right? And I figure that's going to take a couple weeks to get them all up there. And then,
so are these your comics or from your personal collection? You're going Marie Kondo and downsizing.
Personal collection, downsizing. So it's mostly the modern stuff. Everything from 1994 all the way to today. Hey, Anita. Anita says hi to us.
Anita's omnipresent. She is.
Yes.
She. I don't know how she does it, and everything else that she does. You rock.
Yes. No, she's fantastic. I want her on. I actually have. I don't think I've officially had her on the show. I don't think I have. She's one of the last people I would definitely want to grab on the show before it's all said and done.
Please do. She's a fellow Canadian. She's
fantastic. I have never said anything like it. It was funny. This last 100. This is also the first time I had Rebecca officially on the show too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. Social media does work.
Sometimes.
I'm gonna also sometimes I'm gonna also put. I can't put all this here, can I? No, I cannot. But I can put all the message and then I'll put the link.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram is I sometimes that's where I get traction. Twitter, it's I don't know.
Your show or my show, to be perfectly honest with you there, Anita. But I do want you back before it's all said and done. But like I had Rebecca Jonesy on the show, like officially like around 9:25. That was the first time she was officially on the show. So I'm trying to get everybody I want to ever get on the show. Because it's even though I've met a whole bunch of you, when I go on the road, I know I'm not going to see all of you as much as I want to. I know I'm not going to get to see all of you on the road. So, and I mean, and the other thing too is I've already started doing the road shows now. Like I've already kind of I'm just going to pit myself here. Like you can actually that's the other thing that's going up tonight. Is episode 3 of that is going up tonight. And that's on the page.
So how has it compared and how has the experience been live?
It's like it used to. In one sense, it's like it used to be. Like when I started doing the show as an audio show, I did, and there's Patreon, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want to, $5 gets you basically access to all the content. So that's nice. That's nice and cheap number there. But the thing is, when I did the show initially as an audio only show, I would interview people in bars and all these places, and I would let that stuff stay in the content. So in one sense, I'm bringing it back to that in one way. In another way, it's a brand new show because it's not just about the people, although I haven't really gone into the place part of it yet. As I keep traveling more and more outside the city, you're going to see more and more just the places I have gone and I have seen along with the people I meet. And that's kind of the idea behind the next version of the show. It's not just the people I meet, it's the places I go, right? In some ways, it's an old school version of the show, but in other ways, it's a new school version.
It's called evolution.
Yes.
It's evolution, man.
No, but there are things about the old show I miss. Like I miss with Twitch, right? And this is one of those things I miss. I love the ability to talk to people all over the world on Twitch. But it doesn't completely feel real because it feels like it's on a bubble, right? At least to some degree. I like
to some degree, but still, sometimes by having these live chats, you can take down walls or simply some of the walls that would normally be there aren't there, and people can just talk. and
absolutely.
and it's crazy because I also know people who are like crazy introverted, but they're awesome on the live show if it's online, just because they're in their safe space.
But I have broken, even in person, I've broken through. It's about listening. It's not about the places you're at. It's really just about listening, letting people know that you listen and that you care. That's what it really comes down to. But it's better in person. I find it's absolutely a lot better in person
Well,
because
it's a
you get
combination of energies, dude.
yeah, absolutely. You can't, and that's something you can't do here. Like you just can't. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not ungrateful. I've got to talk to people from all over the world. Like legitimately, Japan, England, Australia, Greece, like it's Israel. I mean, that part's amazing, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. But um, the oh,
Yeah.
which advice did I give you that worked there, Anita? Yeah, so
One of her favorite, who's one of your favorite authors that's going to be on the show? Come on, pimp yourself out.
yeah. Well, might as well advertise your show while we're here, Anita. But no, I mean that's the thing. Like I'm excited because I've already started doing it. I've gone. So my next one I interviewed, the next one going up tonight. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That is literally take a chance and ask. I have
what
done.
what rule is that? Is that one of the rules?
It's not a rule. It's just something I've learned.
Yeah, but one of your rules. Shit, that's worthy of a Pantelleresco rule, bro.
I'm at 12 rules right now. That would be rule 13.
Hey, I love 13. People
Yeah,
get freaked out, and I was born on a 13.
so was my uncle. I was born on the 4th. So like numerology stuff there. You get the same number, yeah. So, but the thing is, right, so okay, so here's my story about asking. So, so I was in. Oh, nice,
Wow.
nice. That's awesome. That's really cool. I hope you have fun with Olivia there, Anita. So let me tell you my story. So I'm in Vancouver. I had just won the Aurora for the podcast. Like this was like way back. And it was the day of the Auroras. I hadn't won it yet. So I was supposed to interview. I'm not going to name that author. He kind of blew me off. So I'm going. We're staying in this hotel. I'm staying in this hotel, and I met Spider Robinson the night before, and I watched his Beatles concert. I was like, okay, and I actually, just the way it kind of worked out, like I got my Aurora pin because I was a nominee the night before with Spider getting his lifetime one. And I was there for that. And I was like, okay, this is Spider Robinson. This is really cool. So the next afternoon, he's checking out of the hotel and walking. I see him doing this. He's looking for directions. And I'm like, in my head, what the worst he can say is no, fuck it. So I go up to him. I go, Spider. Okay, I give him directions because I know where he's going. I know where he's going. And so I give him some directions. And I asked him, like, hey, listen, man, I realize like right now isn't a good time, but because you're leaving, but would you like to come on my show at some point? Hey, Jag. This is Jag Tress. This is JD, Jag Tress. So to make a long story short, he's not only did he say yes, I got his email, his phone number, and it's one of my few like actual phone interviews. I got to talk to a science fiction legend just because I asked. That's it. Also, same weekend, I got to talk to Kelly Armstrong. Same weekend. I asked. That's it.
Sometimes things align, dude, and so often people, oh, they're gonna say no, and it's like, find out.
Yeah.
Find out.
Honestly, I'm okay with no. Like I've learned in this life, like I would rather hear a no than a yes. Then yeah, sometimes things just happen there, Jag. It's true, but sometimes you make them happen by putting yourself in the position to win.
Mhm.
Right? That's what it's about. It's not about like, look, if someone tells me no, then you know what? There's no harm in that. I'm not upset with a no. I would rather you just be honest with me and tell me no. I know, I know, I have this knowledge now. I can move on. You can move on. Thank you for the opportunity to let me ask. That's it, right? I mean, that's the worst that can happen. And so I try. I mean, okay, the people I have asked to come on the show. Let's see. I've asked Diane Birch, Lights. I've asked Brandon Sanderson. I've asked, like, I have no fear, because the thing is, even if they say no, I I got a cool story. They said no to me, right?
Uh,
And if I don't hear back,
at the very least, they might remember you. It's like, yeah, I remember that you once asked me for that. People remember the randomest things.
yeah. I think the best no I ever I'll tell you the best no I ever got was Brad Meltzer. I asked Brad Meltzer if he could come on the show, because I know Brad. I email him occasionally from time to time. I just asked him, "Would you like to come on the show?" Now, Brad's exploded. Like, he's on television. He's doing all kinds of things. But it was one of the most politest no's I've ever gotten. And he gave me again, I'm not upset about that. He gave me the courtesy to let me know where he stood. That is all I can expect from anybody, right? No one owes me anything, but what I care about at this point in my life is that you respect my time.
Yeah,
And telling me no is respecting my time, right?
yeah.
That's
A maybe is a goose chase.
actually, no. The worst is when they say yes and then they just disappear. Drives me nuts. Drives me
Ah,
nuts.
I've seen so many people do recently in the Puerto Rico Comic Con. I'm not gonna throw someone under the bus.
No,
Anyone,
no names.
no, anyone who went knows who canceled. But people who consistently book events and they cancel because either they're not in it or there's a conflict, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, to miss out on one event, hey, life happens. To be known and to have a reputation for being someone that's not going to make it to the event, and people are really excited to meet you, and you like brush it off. It's like, dude, come on.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, there are people. Again, it depends too. Like, it depends on why. Okay, for example, fun one. Like at a Calgary Comic Con. I think it was Calgary. It might have been Phoenix when I was in Phoenix. Patrick Stewart had to cancel because he got an offer for a role. Like, I get it when, like, there's money involved, that you got to make some decisions sometimes, and I understand that. Like, that part I get. But again, it's an honest statement. It's an this was when this was back when like, oh, here's the difference, Jack. This is the difference between a professional and an amateur. This is the real difference. A professional will tell you what's going on at all times. They are, like, not because again, they don't want to waste time. They just don't. So they'll tell you, and things happen, life happens. And again, you don't want to bulk on any commitments you do make, but there's also, hey, listen, they're paying me a bunch of stupid money to do this. Well, yeah, I mean, I can't blame them either, right? So there is a bit of understanding sometimes, depending on who the guest is and the circumstances behind them not showing up. But when it gets to a point with some people that you're just there's two people I really want to get on the show. Two people I really, really want to get on the show before I wrap this up. And one of them would not answer me for months. I got pissed, really pissy with them, because it was an anxiety issue. But just tell me no. Just tell me what's going on. I'm good with that, right? That's it. I have anxiety right now. Okay, leave you alone, right? Just tell me, because it's one of those things in this life where I've learned that um I don't have the time to waste, and nobody owes you the time to wait or the time to do. So this is what I say to people, and it is probably my biggest pet peeve at this point. Like, I don't care what you say, don't waste my time.
Yeah, I think my pet peeve is always going to be people that think that they're better than others, or look down on other people. That one, when it comes to this pet peeve, not things that really, really, genuinely piss me off, and I think people should
Mhm.
know. Pet peeve, I think that one really grates my gears. That I go like, and being standoffish, and some people do it because they've been told that you have to have that type of attitude and that type of posture so that you can be recognized as someone successful. And I'm like, what the? No, dude.
Okay. So my only caveat to that is the level of fame they have. Because I've seen it. Like, I've watched one of her last cons before she passed. Carrie Fisher did the Edmonton Expo, and I
Mm.
watched her. Like, was really nice. If you could talk to her, she was really nice. But she was surrounded by security all the time, and people were following her. I watching that made me look at fame in a very different light.
No,
It's
but
only useful.
that's different, dude. One
Yeah,
thing is to be famous and to have to take care of yourself and etc.
yeah. That's my caveat. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's my caveat on that. If you're just somebody trying to be, I'm confident, right? I'm very confident. I don't apologize for that. But I'm also never going to treat somebody like they're worse than me ever. Right? It doesn't matter to me where you're at in your life. All I care about with people is that, are they happy doing what they are doing? That's
Yeah.
all I care about. The rest, I don't. It doesn't matter to me what it looks like.
Some people think that they're hot shit, and they're absolutely right. They are hot shit, and
Yeah.
eventually they're gonna get tepid and
Yes,
lukewarm.
that's right. No, I mean, like I said, there is ego's a funny thing. You need it to some degree to succeed, but
Yeah,
if you let it get too big without the proper if you can't back up your ego, it eventually eats you alive. That's what eventually happens.
yeah, but some people also, even if they can, if you talk about sports, eventually Father Time is gonna catch up to you, and you can't deliver on that. And yes, you were a legend, etc. But I don't know, just being don't understand why it's so hard for some people to not be a dick. It's like it's pretty simple. Don't be a dick. And it's but the little people. And it's like check yourself and it is on a global scale. We are so insignificant, and every time that you zoom out a bit more, it's like what we do. It's like, are you having fun? Are you leaving something that's gonna at least make one person smile?
Mhm.
Or and don't be a dick. It's simple.
You'd think, right? You would think that, but that's not how this goes. Like,
Ah,
I find
never is.
no, it's not how it goes. I find people, you gotta learn these things, right? I People that get a sustained amount of success for a very set period of time, they're used to things going a certain way. On one hand, you can understand it. It's working, right? On the one hand, you understand it, but eventually, right? Like something as you just pointed out, eventually things change. They always do. What goes up goes down, and you gotta realize that we all have a certain time to do our thing. And when that time is over, right? When that time is over, you have to recognize the fact that, how did you treat other people? Because that is going to be what brings you back later. Like, might give you that second, pardon me, that second, that third, that fourth chance. Because it's not, in terms of skill and talent, there are some like, there are people are incredible. Like, no joke. People can do some incredible things. It's the diff Sometimes, again, you need to see your worth to get it. That's the
Yeah,
trick.
yeah, yeah.
But at the same time, you gotta realize that just because you see things this way doesn't mean you have to treat people badly in the
No,
process. And that's and that, to some degree, I think, is a lesson in how far you succeed, and maybe how far you need to get humbled. Right? Someone that works for their success, I find, is a lot more humble than someone that gets it right away, and kind of again, gets those pegs slowly taken out from underneath them. But
yeah.
that's what I found.
Do you think that's what happened with most child stars, that they get too much success early and they think they're hot shit, and obviously they're not mature enough to know what's what? And some kid actors are super mature. I think the kid actors from today have a better shot than kid actors 15, 20, 30 years ago.
It,
You
it
see,
dep-
And there's always going to be train wrecks that you go like, wow, that's rough.
Well, it's imposter syndrome. I mean, honestly, it's imposter syndrome. It hits differently. I look at probably one of the most famous child actors I knew were the Olsen twins from when I was growing up, right? From what I have, all the stories I've heard about them, they were very, very professional. They kind of knew what they were doing, right? They were miles ahead of a lot of adults they were working with because of just their experiences. That might be a credit to the parents as well, not letting whatever get to the head. I'm not saying the Olsens didn't have their own, excesses here and there, but I also think when you have that much success, you're going to get some excesses here and there. I think it's everybody. But
let me buy my own arcade.
yeah, exactly. Because you can, and why not? Right? Why not? Right? But the thing is, when you look at a kid, okay, think about this. Suddenly, everybody's saying yes to you. Everybody, doesn't matter who you are, you're saying yes, right? You look at some, right? So you go through and especially if the ride is a long ride, right? Look at someone. Okay, I don't think they ended up that badly, but look at someone like David Faustino or Christina Applegate from Married with Children. That show was 10 years. They were kid actors.
Yeah.
Right? I know for a fact that I mean Faustino, there wasn't much that's a no to him after a certain point. I'm sure Applegate was the same way. Right? It's just you get these things when you are given to them, and sometimes you have to kind of come to terms with those things, how you deal with them. Some people have the background to do it. Then again, okay, let's look at probably one of the two biggest train wrecks I've seen in my lifetime, or maybe three, were Lindsay Lohan and Britney Spears, and possibly Miley Cyrus. Possibly Miley, right? I think Miley was a little bit more deliberate, but the other two were definite train wrecks, right? So
yeah, but very different situations. Brittany was, dude, that's just it's performative slavery.
well, no,
It's
no. But but again, got a whole bunch of success,
No,
and
but
the parents did what they did there, right?
yeah, but I think there's two different things. One is okay, Lindsay Lohan was just a train wreck, and she's still trying to mend things and get things back in some sort of order, but she went off the rails. Brittany was obviously the success and the circumstances, but someone like Aaron Carter,
Yep.
that kid, it was just destined to be a train wreck, genetically almost. It's like he just couldn't and when your own brother gets a restraining order against you, dude, what the hell?
But
It's stories that you go like, wow, what the hell happened there? And then there's other people that they're fine.
success doesn't necessarily corrupt. I actually, as I've gotten older, we'll say wiser again as a question mark, right? But I find that success reveals character, right? More like success, like if you want to, Abraham Lincoln said this best: you want to give test a man's character, give them power, because that will show you who they really are. And he's right. Success is almost the same kind of thing. You get you get yeses to everything, right? So because the door is open, because you're like this golden goose and you deliver, right? So suddenly everybody bends backwards for you. Well, if you don't have your shit together, and again, and for the child, with a child actor, you can't that's a credit to, I think, to the parents to some degree, right? But I think the parents play a big role in that, but it's also the kid too. They have to have, like, you have to come to this realization that um this is for, even if you get the generational wealth now, this is only for a moment, right? This is only for a moment. And that's the thing. Like most of us believe when we get to certain things that they're going to last. The reality is that's not true. That's good. It's with bad times or good times. They don't last forever. And coming to that maturity, I think realizing that is a process, and that's not easy for an adult to get, let alone a
Imagine
kid.
a kid
Right.
who's going through some stuff. And the thing is that some of these kids, they started when they were like 8, 9, 10 years old. So
Hmm.
they get all that fame and it's crazy, and then they hit puberty, and it's like, wow, what a bad combination.
Well, yeah, no, and that's just it. They're not getting no's to anything. Like literally, they're not going to because they have the money to back it up, right? They like I said, you come with a certain status, and people respect that. Said that's never changed,
Mm.
and that's a big thing. Like so, when you realize this, like I mean, again, if I was wealthy tomorrow, I mean, it's a human thing. I'd buy something probably I never thought I could afford in a million years just because I could, right? Now, whether would I appreciate it? Oh, absolutely.
Oh
But
yeah.
again, absolutely, Anita. Again, drugs and other things do get worse. But the thing is, you don't get no's. Like you don't
No,
get
you get more
no's.
drugs. It's like, oh, you're 11 and you want whiskey? Let me get you Everclear.
Yeah, no, but that's just it. But when you're dealing with that kind of success, the rules almost don't apply, right? They don't. And that's the all people care about is that you're doing the thing.
But that's a good thing about all of us. We've had to bust our ass for so many years, and we're we're still making ends meet. That when we finally make it big, we have been humbled enough by the trajectory.
I hope. See. Here's. So I had a very unique perspective on this too because I've interviewed so many people.
Mm,
I can I look for certain small things in people because again I've dealt with really successful people. I've dealt with people just getting started. It's amazing what people have in common, but it's also amazing what the difference is. And what I think this is something I'm doing. My last thing in Calgary, I'm doing. It's in August. It's a When Words Collide. I'm doing a talk called the Freelance Mindset,
mm,
and one of the things I've had to learn in the last 3 years is I have to redefine what is possible for me because
mhm.
I made a decision to go freelance, and because I made that decision, I decided to trade in certain things, but what I realized is, and this is something that this has occurred, like I'm starting to see breakthroughs like this year. I've seen some serious breakthroughs. I've made very close to a living wage most of the months this year just doing creative stuff. So that what that tells me is, okay, I have to push this more. I think it's possible to get more out of this. It's possible to do really well. And I think a thriving artist is a very possible thing.
Mm.
But a lot of people, yeah. Yeah, Jack, like honestly, like I like that's the real secret. Like I have a real clear idea what I think I can accomplish. And because I have it, it's been more open to happening. Now it's not perfect. There's ups, there's downs. Like June's a weird month for me. I don't know what the ups and downs are going to be, but I'm also selling my comics, so may just work out anyway. But the thing is, right? I have this really clear idea of what I think I can achieve. And because I have that clear idea, it's almost like the door opens to make it happen. And a lot of freelance, I find a lot of creative people. And I said this on Saturday. I literally spent a few hours with a friend of mine who hadn't made any money with her magazine. Within like 10 minutes of me and her going our separate ways, she scored a deal. Like within 10 minutes, just some of the things I told her to do.
Well, if,
Yeah,
if
right.
if you're
It's
at
just
a if you're at a shitty point and your mindset is just off, you're not gonna attract anything. And yes, it's the law of attraction, etc. But and you can scoff at it all you want, but it is true. If you're like shit, I can't. Nothing's working. Nothing's gonna work. If you constantly feed that, that's the vibe that you're gonna put out.
yeah, but it was more than that. Just her whole like again the approach.
Mm,
I find the biggest thing with the creative mindset is the biggest lesson we got to teach ourselves is that we're worth it. Like legitimately, we're worth it. That's the whole of the secret. And it sounds really simplistic. It's not because you got to go out there and prove you can do that to yourself. And that's the hard part. But if you can get that, you got right. If you can get
but
that,
there's so many people. okay, how do you find out that you're worth it? Stuff that I do to realize that what I put out is worth it is that I just consume a lot of stuff. I read a lot of stuff. I watch a lot of stuff, etc. And then I read my own stuff. And I've literally sat down and I've had it on my nightstand, my books on the nightstand. I'm doing research for, so I can finally finish the third book, which I finished, but I'm editing, and I'm just giving it all the love. But when I read those books, even with their faults, because obviously you're going to see all the faults because you wrote
Hmm.
the damn thing, and you're hypersensitive to anything that you muck up. But I'm reading it and I go like, damn, this is worthwhile. And
Yes.
I'm not saying it like, to stroke myself off looking at the mirror.
No,
I'm
you
genuinely
should.
reading it and going like, oh, I forgot this. If I can forget, if I wrote something, forgot it, and read it again, and I was surprised. Try to imagine someone who's never been exposed to this information. Some people are gonna go like, "Wow, that was cool," and and again, depending on the project, I can tell you the caveats of most of my projects. With the human cycle, with the second book, man, I honestly, I think I overcomplicated it, but that's what it has to be. And people go like, oh, are you gonna edit it or fix it? I'm like, yeah, a major typo, like, instead of cluck, it came out with an F. I would fix that. um but other stuff that really doesn't take away from the story. Some people might have gripes. I've seen reviews where people get snippy and cutty, and it's like, and they just want to pinpoint everything. And they were having a bad day, and they weren't hydrated, and they hadn't gotten laid, so they laid it on a little thick on the review. And you go like, okay, you got it out of your system. I'm glad for you. But and then you read it, and you go like, everyone's entitled to an opinion. When you read stuff that you go like, oh wow, that's a good point. Yeah, you take notes and you
Yeah, sure.
rectify later. But I've seen people that have re-released their books 5 and 6 times, and I don't know, dude.
So here's the thing. This is how I look at it. It's a combination of things. It's
Damn.
investment. The investment they want to put in their work. And what I mean by that, it's twofold. Not just the presentation to some degree, I think looks kind of matters to me. I knew a well-known author. They just re-released one of their books, and they decided to go like the lowest common denominator on their cover, right? In comparison to what their old cover for the publisher was, the publisher was miles better. The reason why I thought that was kind of damning was because this is your book, dude, right? You should be like, grant you, it's a re-release, sure, but you should be going to like the next level with it because this is yours. It's now your property, right? You want people to come to you. So I mean, it should be at least on par with what the publisher did. That's how like these are again, these are little things I look at.
But you're talking about the cover. I'm talking about the content. I'm
No,
talking
no, no,
about
no,
people
but it's
people
the
who
whole.
have changed plot points, dude. And I go like, that's a foul. What are you gonna tell the people who read the first version of your book? Sorry, you got the wrong
So
one.
no, I okay. As far as that go, we'll go there too. So I no, because I think it's the same problem. It's confidence, right? It's confidence. Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. And you should, Anita. You absolutely should, right? You absolutely should, right? But I mean, no. The thing is, you have this. I think it's the confidence of investment. Like, okay, if there's a major error in the draft, I could definitely see a point in changing. Like my first novel that came out, there's a big part of me that debates maybe I should change it in the middle because it's a little soggier than it should be.
Mhm.
At the same time, I kind of look at it like this: could I match the energy of the guy that wrote that book? Technically,
Mhm.
I can make it better, but could I match that energy? I don't think I could. But also, I don't necessarily. It doesn't necessarily. Something I realized. I've noticed this with music. You don't necessarily need to have the greatest hits behind you, as long
You
as
don't have
everything
to
you're.
have the best voice either.
No, you don't. You just have to put stuff out there. And that's the like right this minute, like one of my releases I'm planning on doing on Kickstarter, I'm putting it out raw on Patreon. Now it's I the caveat is it's raw. It's not going to be quite the final copy, but you guys get to read that early.
Mhm.
right? If you guys want to, I mean, and like I said, you get 2 chapters a month for $1. I mean, I figure that's a reasonable thing, and it forces my ass to finish the damn thing too, which is good, right? Right. But I'm pretty far ahead, but it's still I want to get it done. But the idea is twofold, right? I'm running as I go. I realize that this is going to force me to be better, make some final decisions. I can
Mhm.
upgrade the tone and the voice, but I know the story I want to tell. I know the feeling. I have a very clear idea. Again, this comes down, I think, to clarity and confidence,
Mhm.
right? Right? Clarity. What do you want to present to the audience? What kind of story do you want to tell? And
Mhm.
you learn from your works. Like when you write a novel, you have an idea, and sometimes your plans and God laughing at you equals what you have, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes it's better. Sometimes you got to work at it. Like sometimes it's been better for me, but sometimes it's like, okay, where did I go wrong? Where was my mistake? If it was a mistake, right? But again, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, does this fit the vision of what I'm telling? Does this
Mhm.
work? And why does it work? And I find like now what I'm worried about when I look at telling a story is, am I hitting the right emotional beats on top of the content I
Mhm.
want to hit, right? And there's a point with every story. I think you have to walk away. You have to have the confidence to walk away from it, and right, and that's where from a content standpoint, that's a big thing. From the presentation standpoint, but again, I can tell the difference between an author who's confident and an author who's not.
Mhm.
I can tell the difference. And that to me, I think is everything. I can't promise how far a successful author how successful look like for you and where you will go. But what I will promise you is this: the objective is not to necessarily play to win. The objective is not to shoot yourself in the foot. Right?
Yeah.
That's the real objective, because more often than not, our greatest enemy is ourselves, and that's something it's true. It's art, because authors are now a lot more indie. There's Kickstarter, there's Unbound, there's traditional still. You have all these options, so you almost have to make a decision when you're starting. What story I want to tell? Who do I want to tell it to?
Mhm.
And how do I want to reach them? Right? Those are like legitimate questions I think we all should be asking, right? It doesn't guarantee again, doesn't necessarily guarantee success, but it's like, again, clarity of vision, I think, equals clarity of execution.
The things that for each project is a little beast that's within me that I want to tackle
Sure.
for X or Y reason. And there are different things that I need to get out of my system. And there are things that I get out of my system even though I know they're not going to be lucrative.
Mhm.
I did the bilingual collection. I can keep just exclusively pushing the bilingual collection. Cool. But I wanted, first off, I wanted the personal challenge plus the exercise and practice to translate it,
Mhm.
the English section to Spanish and the Spanish section to English, so that I can have all English and all Spanish. These books are not hot sellers or anything, and I'm doing it just because I am a stubborn ass. But in the process, the stuff that I found in the process has been so fascinating that that is the price of admission. Seeing what I had to fix in a short story, just because when you read it in the context, one that's in Spanish, it's called cambio de carril. It's in English, it's called lane change. Um, if you don't live in Puerto Rico, you're not going to get a lot of it. Plus, when you translate it, you can do it so that it's a correct translation, but it's going to get lost on it. So I had to trade out jokes, gimmicks, because part of the plot was driven forward with billboards that the main character was seeing on the road. The thing is that if you're in Puerto Rico, it's going to hit in a certain way. But when you were reading it in English, it fell flat. So I had to adjust that. And having to wrap my head around that, again, it's this project is going to be quick and easy. I think the most comical example I have is for writing out loud. Let me see if I got a copy.
Go right ahead.
this this is from my blog. I was like, I'm gonna take the content from my blog, when I write nonfiction is to try to have a positive impact. Um, and I was like, I'm just gonna compile the blog, and then I compile the blog. Have How long is this? It should be like 300 pages, 274 pages worth. Not bad, good size book. And suddenly I go like, okay, so I got to organize this way and that way, and then I start thinking it like a proper book, and I go like, okay, for this to work I have to do this and this and that, and what I thought was going to be like a 3-week process ended up taking about 4 months plus an extra 2 months of editing.
Yep. Well, yeah,
It's going to be quick and easy. It could have been quick and easy if I was a lazy ass and I would have half-assed it, but I was like, I'm not going to half-ass it because, and it's not a book that a lot of people read, but the people who have read it, I've gotten a lot of personal thank yous. Like, dude, what I read there helped.
Yeah.
Hey, I want the $1 million. I definitely want the $1 million. Definitely. Having someone without any other interest than to say thank you, and say, wow, man, what you did and what you invested your time in helped me out. Fuck it, that's worth it.
Well, okay, again, and I'm gonna clarify something I'm saying. It's not always about the money, right? But no, it's not. It's about like what do you want to do with a book? Like again, and the other thing that I'm saying here, folks, is something that's very important. There's no promises with dollar amounts with anything I'm saying. But what's important, and this is something I think you realize, is what's the story you want to tell? Who do you want to reach out to? Even if it's a small audience, it doesn't matter. It's the audience you want to reach. It's the audience it's the stories you care about telling, right? That's what matters. Like the rest of it is nice, but really the truly like the real secret, I truly believe this, is that the real secret to being a lucrative creative and however you want to do it, however you define that, is figuring out what you want, the stories you want to tell, and who you want to tell them to. And again, this sounds really fucking simple. It's not. Figuring that shit out takes a long time. But if you can figure that out,
that's great. But one of the challenges that I have is that people go like, man, shouldn't you concentrate more on a specific type of genre? And I'm like, if I wanted to make more money, or that could be an approach, but who I am and how I write and how I live is not a one genre type of guy.
no.
And people go like, yeah, but if you did this, you would be. And I'm like, that's pure speculation. Maybe you're completely right. Maybe you're 1,000% right. But the whole, I am a fantasy author, I am a horror author, I am that works for some people, and I'm very happy for them. That does not work for me, dude.
But no, but again, and I'm going to just say this doesn't, again, what I'm saying here doesn't mean you have to put yourself into one particular niche either. But when you're writing a story, like this is your blog was for a very specific kind of reader, right? Not necessarily the most like
it is self-serving. A lot of times the blog is me trying to cope with what I'm come across, or conversations that I've had with a friend, and we've touched on topics, and I go like, and this conversation shouldn't just stay in obviously the details of the conversation, and anything that's intimate in that friendship and in that connection is not going to be used, but the topics that we touch and the emotions and the stuff that we talk about, yeah. I have a very good friend. He still has issues with his height because he's not a tall dude, and it's like, oh man, life would be easier if I was taller, etc. And then you see some people like, Bruce Lee or Eddie Vedder, who were both 5'7", and you see Kevin Hart, who's not tall. You see Muggsy Bogues, who was 5'3", and he was like the leader of the Charlotte Hornets. Obviously, these are not the tendency of the people, but people who were like kind of defined and not they were defined but not limited by their height. Bruce Lee was 5'7", but would you take a kick or a punch from Bruce Lee?
Not in a million years. Heck, even Mike Tyson's is not the biggest guy in the world. I'd rather get hit by a car than get punched by Mike Tyson. I mean, and I'm not joking. I would rather do that.
I'm not sure if I could roll from a car impact better than from an uppercut from Tyson. People go like, "Oh, left hook," and I'm like, "No, no, no. If you're gonna talk about the worst punch that Mike and most heavyweights could hit you with, look for an uppercut. People don't get up from an uppercut often."
I actually, with Tyson, that wasn't his most devastating punch was his liver punches. Those
in the 80s, but then he became a headhunter, and
well, but again,
and
see, Peekaboo Tyson is prime Tyson.
oh yeah,
Right, Peekaboo Tyson.
he had a jab.
No.
Who would have thought?
No, he had an aggressive jab, but honestly, it was his body attack that was so brutal. So here would be my comment. I don't know if I'd walk away from the car. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure though I'd go to sleep from a Mike Tyson punch. I'm pretty sure about it. Right? It's not really. It's how do I put this? I'm not saying I get up from both, but I'm saying I might have a slightly better chance of getting up from the car than I would from Tyson's punch. Now, maybe that's a little bit that may sound crazy, but some of these guys with those punches, man, they hit harder than cars. Francis Ngannou is one of those people.
Oh yeah,
right. It actually, Anita, sometimes it's not true. Sometimes the guys, their average punch beats certain degrees of horsepower. They've measured these guys. And
the thing is that a car is going in this direction, and obviously it has ill intent. And if you get run over by the car or just blasted by the car, it can be bad. But if you kind of jump and you get rolled, you're gonna get ragdolled. It's gonna be bad. You're gonna break ribs and stuff like that. But a well-placed punch is really it can fuck you up.
Yeah, you could be.
Both can. The thing is that what one is like, I want to do this to you, and the other one, well, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe you pissed off someone off with a car that was like, you know what? I'm just gonna run you over.
Well, like I said, straight up, I'm not again. I don't want to make this clear to the audience. I'm not saying I'd walk away from either, but I think I have a slightly better chance with the car. I could be crazy thinking that, but then again, I've seen these guys' measurements in terms of how hard they hit. No thanks.
But you would have to. Okay, so I don't know. You would have to go into extremes. You're caught in the corner with Tyson, and you're gonna take a hit, no matter what. And a car is coming. Got on the sidewalk, and it's 15 feet away. It's gonna hit you.
Yes.
So I don't know. They're both as if agreed, but still, a well placed punch can kill someone too. So I think they both have the intimidation factor.
Well, I would say Anita, generally speaking, under normal circumstances, I would agree with you. Certain guys, no.
Right. Certain guys are just crazy.
Yeah. And Tyson was crazy in his heyday, man. I would not like that guy was an animal, like legit.
His worst or his best knockouts are scary, dude.
Oh no, there was one knockout that's been recorded. He knocked the guy out on the first punch. The guy did not go down until he hit him like 3 more times. It was just, but the guy was out. Like the first shot put him out. It was just like
those are the worst. When either when someone is stunned or they're pinned and they don't go down. Oftentimes they say that one of the most important lessons that a boxer has to learn is when to take a knee.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When to take a standing 8 count.
Absolutely, learning when to hit. But I mean, if you look at his knockouts, if you look at they actually have some compilations. There was one, and thing is, the guy wasn't pinned; he went out. But Tyson was so fast; he hit him like 3 more times before he went down. It was just like
I've seen in UFC a guy who got knocked out, and the other guy followed it up with four punches before he hit the floor. As he was going to the floor, he was coming down with a hammer.
Oh yeah, so you're talking. Yeah,
he got five extra punches. It's like overkill.
That's the infamous Dan Henderson knockout on Michael Bisping. That's what you're talking about right there. That's what you're talking about.
But Dan Henderson's knockout, that's 2 punches plus the hammer fist. I've seen people hit even more times.
Absolutely.
The thing is that all 3 punches from Dan Henderson would have put anyone to sleep.
Yeah, yeah.
And the one on the floor is brutal because it's like a forearm smash
Oh yeah,
on the
it
face.
was a hammer. It was a hammer. Just like, oh my god. But UFC knockouts are even worse. I think the best one I ever saw was Masvidal's
Okay, which one?
Askren.
Not sure I know that one.
The fight is legitimately 5 seconds. Like no, it is legit.
When he comes with a flying knee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
that
yeah.
that that was like over so fast, and it was just like, hello,
Hey, Megan.
hey Megan, how's that?
Nah, dude. And what's curious is that most times those knockouts aren't as dangerous as the ones in fights that go way long. Those are the ones that can leave
Oh yeah,
permanent damage.
because the fighter's exhausted. Like the fighters train to take a certain degree of abuse. That's why their stamina is what it is. But what ends up happening is, again, you get tired and exhausted, and that's when you make the most devastating mistakes,
Well,
right?
it's that, and plus, since if it's boxing, since you have padded gloves, it it just basically you're rattling your brain inside your skull, and
Yeah,
it's just blunt trauma.
yeah. And like I say, it's crazy to think about like some of the things that you do see happen in there, but it's part of the game. Like everybody knows when they step into the octagon, ring, whatever, that's the risk you take, right? So
Protect yourself at all times. That is the golden rule.
yes, and if you can't, that's usually, and you can't, the referee will get in there eventually, but it might be.
We hope, but we've seen referees do a piss poor job, and I've seen people like completely out, and the other fighter goes like, "Ref, he's out." Oh, okay. It's like, what would you? Were you sexting while you were officiating this fight? Where were you?
I think the worst one I ever saw was last knockout Mayweather ever got. That was the worst one I've ever seen.
With whom? No,
Uh,
the last knockout he got was Conor McGregor.
No. I mean the actual like an actual KO where you actually got a 10 count. Guy headbutted him.
I
You know,
know, but that was with Victor Ortiz, and that
no, but I blame the ref on that a lot. The ref really fucked that one up because again, the things he should have done and what actually happened, right? I looked at that like that's probably the worst one I've ever seen because I mean Floyd got legitimately headbutted. Should have stayed like he should stay in the corner. Ref didn't let Floyd stay in the corner. He let Floyd wander. Floyd was pissed. Guy dropped his gloves. Floyd decked him,
yeah,
and
but
the ref wasn't there at
yeah, but
all.
Joe Cortez, that that was about 12 fights after he should have retired.
Oh, I
Seriously.
know I agree, but I'm talking about like the worst one I've ever seen. That one was bad,
Yeah,
right? That one.
in terms of okay, but nah, I've seen fights that literally the corner has stepped in the ring, held their fighter back, and looked at the referee and going, "What the hell is wrong with you?
Mhm.
You should have stopped this fight. What's wrong with you?" And the referee, um, I would have to look up the refs. I can give you a list of about 3 fights that you go like, "What's wrong with you?" And people that shouldn't be in that, unfortunately, I'm not sure if it was this year. Yeah, I do think it was this year. One of the best refs that I've ever seen in a fight, Steve Smoger. He passed away. When Steve stopped the fight, there was no question that he should have stopped the fight. But there were other fights where some people were like, "Oh, he jumped the gun," and I'm like, if that guy stopped the fight, because I've seen fights with him that you go like, "Oh Lord, this is brutal." But they're still competitive. Everyone's still okay. Obviously, they're beating the hell out of each other, and he would let it go. But it was him, Frank Cappuccino. Frank Cappuccino is the ref for the first Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti fight, and that fight is savage. That fight is if you want 10 rounds of because I saw that on HBO. I was like, oh, there's a fight. Okay. Mickey Ward. Okay, okay. Arturo Gatti. That name sounds familiar. And after that fight, I was a fan of both of them.
Yeah.
So,
It's amazing what happens when two people go to war, right? You become fans.
and
Yeah.
they became friends, like the best friends. It's like, yeah, let's kick each other's ass again. It's like, okay, buddy, I love you. I'm gonna kill you, but I love you.
Because again, there's respect, because you know it, like when you're with somebody that you can see is doing the work and is doing thing and they're on your level, it's always
Yeah,
fun to push yourself against that, always.
no, but I love when a fight is competitive. I hate when there's a mismatch, and I hate the fight you mentioned with Floyd. He didn't have to sucker punch Victor Ortiz. He didn't have to sucker punch Arturo Gatti. He's done a lot of stuff that I go like, you didn't have to do that, dude. You have all the
No,
skills to take someone to town.
that's
Eh,
Floyd for you though.
uh,
That's but no, but I mean, and this is the thing. Like I again, normally speaking, like Floyd's got a lot. Again, going back to something we said earlier, this is the guy that makes all the money,
yeah,
right?
and then loses it gambling and
Uh,
then being
but
irresponsible and
again,
not paying taxes.
but the thing is, he again, but living proof, right? Money reveals character.
Oh yeah.
Okay, right? Right. He's living proof of that,
Yep.
right?
Going back to Mickey Ward. Mickey Ward retired. He was getting offered like more money to do another fight, and he was like, "Nah, I'm done."
Mhm.
And he went to I think he was driving a steamroller or something, which is I think it's kind of poetic when you see his style of fighting.
Yep.
Um, and he was good with it. He was good with it, and he was always kind with everyone and generous with his time. And to this day, if people see him and say, "Hey, how you doing, Megan?" He's always going to be amicable. If you go to Puerto Rico, Tito Trinidad, and some people might have some issues with the Oscar De La Hoya fight, or maybe with how they wrapped his hands, and they say that it's illegal. I get all that stuff. Look beside that. Look at his career. Look at the level of fame that he had, and he is one of the most approachable people that you will ever meet. Kind of hard to understand because he has a weird pitch of tone and he talks really fast. But still, just a nice guy. This goes back to the original the original topic. Even at the epitome of boxing, because there was one point where Tito was the shit in the sport, and those were the fights that you had to see.
Hmm.
He had like, like 2 or 3 years there where he was the biggest draw.
Hmm.
Other people go like, oh, more money, etc. Yeah, but in terms of excitement and winning fight of the year, look for Fernando Vargas versus Tito Trinidad. Tell me that people didn't get their money's worth, dude. That's a fight. Um, and still, guy is approachable, guy's nice. He's had money issues, but that was problems with management. He was trying to do things right. He wasn't trying to be sneaky or anything. Just, just bad luck of the draw with people that he got advice from. It's like fuck.
But again, going back full circle. Like again, who we are is revealed with what we do. That's just it, right? We're all human. We all screw up. But I mean, are we? How do again? At the end of the day, what this ultimately comes down to for all of us: who are we when things were hard? Who are we when things went well? Right, and everything else in the middle is, like I said, when we struggle, and this is a weird thing. When we struggle, it's easy. It's easy to be. It's easier, I think, in some ways, to be kind and forgiving, because you know what everybody else is like you. Everybody else is struggling. When you're doing well, I think in some ways it's harder because you're always in the back of your head asking yourself, "Are they approaching me because I'm a good guy? Are they approaching me because I'm for what I have?"
Oh, self doubt count comes in so many flavors that
It does. It does.
Baskin Robbins can't keep up.
But
Are people reviewing my books because I was a nice guy to them or gave them advice or something like that? And sometimes I have felt like I've
yeah.
gotten reviews because of who and how I am. And then you have to take a step back and ask yourself, is that a bad thing?
Oh, it's
And
not.
it's always like, is what I wrote worth it, worthwhile, etc. And then you get little nuggets like someone writing because you took your blog and you made a book out of it, or a poem that you wrote, or stuff that you go like, wow, I didn't expect someone to resonate with someone with something that I wrote, and it happened. Obviously, I don't have the reach and the level of fame of other people, but I have had an impact on someone's life, and just to know that, it's like, but then then going back to addictions, you kind of get addicted and you want that to happen more often. It's like, I want that special moment to happen with more people just because you want to either feel special or feel that what you did transcends.
It's not even, but you also get something out of it. It's beyond just feeling special. It's that you made a difference. Like you think, like the biggest question you have sometimes when you put these words is who's going to read them. You have a definitive answer to that question because this changed my life. This advice was heck. Anita thanked me for advice, right? Yeah, but the thing is, it's I don't think it astounds me that much, Miss Megan, because honestly, you probably write amazing stuff, right? Right, you probably do, right? I don't know what you've written, or I tell you, maybe I have read it, but the fact is, when we go and we do these kind of things, right? We don't always we don't know the impact we're going to have with what we do. And again, that's where doubt can go both ways on that, right? If you hear nothing, well, did anybody read it at all?
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah, they can go the other way too. Everybody's reading your stuff. Let's say you're successful, right? And it's like, well, can I top it? There's a buddy of mine right now, right. There's a buddy of mine right now who wrote a dinosaur series,
Mm.
and he is going through all kinds of imposter syndrome right now. And the thing that really gets me is he has a hit. Like even if it may not be the biggest hit, but he's got a hit. And you should enjoy these things.
Yeah,
Now,
but
right?
it's the sophomore slump, and again, I read Only Human and I read Shadow of a Human, and I think that across the board, I think I improved a lot of what I did in Only Human. Did I make it darker and more complicated? Yeah. Might that alienate people? Possibly, but it's also the situation. It's like, oh, it's going to be a trilogy, so I'll read it when all three of the books come out. And it's like, that's not how it works, but okay.
Okay. For me, when I did Storm Dancer, second book of my Watcher stories, I think it's a better book than The Watcher. I'll say otherwise, but right,
Likewise.
right. But I think it's a better book because I thought I thoroughly enjoyed writing her a lot more than I enjoyed writing the Watcher character. I just enjoyed it more. But I accept the fact that you know what, and honestly, the interior art, Florence killed it, man. She killed it in the second book, like so well, and so in every way I can imagine, every like physical way I could imagine, it's better. But at the same time, like Watcher was lightning in a bottle, right? That's
Yeah.
fair. No, that's fair.
Okay, I got 21 books out. I got 20 plus projects in process in different levels of process. People ask me, why do you do that? And I'm like, so that I have less time to think about all my insecurities.
It's fair.
If my brain is busy and my heart is occupied writing something, then I can't take like a full week of just like berating myself, which I have done. And it's a poor investment of energy. I'm not going to say it's a waste of time because it's something that most of us do, and it's part of something that we all have to face and overcome in some way. How do you overcome it? That's up to you to define, and it's crazy because it's self-doubt. Few things are more relentless and creative than self-doubt, and just self-esteem issues. And it's something that what I tell people is it's okay to have self-esteem issues and to have self-doubt, but try this for a while and write kind to yourself. And when I say write kind to yourself, literally journal and talk to yourself and
Yeah.
say what's what. That's something that I had to do last year. Last year started off as rocky as it can be for me, and I had to do a lot of changes, and I had to do a lot of things to heal. And one of the things that I ended up doing after the first half of the year was when I was journaling, I would also journal and write to myself
Hmm.
and write words of kindness. Um, that's when a lot of things started to just mellow the fuck out, heal, and I was able to sleep a hell of a lot better. Just just by doing the exercise of writing to myself with kindness. Because again, and I know Derek has issues with his book, and I've seen
Yeah, yeah,
that
because he knew exactly what he was
he
talking about, huh? Yeah.
now I know that he's dealing with that, and the thing is that, oh, it's just going to happen with the first book. It's going to happen with other books.
Hmm.
It's going to happen with other books. You already have an audience. It's like, but why didn't it happen with the second book? That's the wrong question to
It
ask,
is. No.
because it's going to be a cruel question that's not gonna it's not gonna let go.
Well,
You don't, if you feed that, all the other opportunities to do cool stuff and connect with cool people are just going to pass you by.
well, as far as my own imposter syndrome came when this podcast got nominated for an award, right? I'm going to go so far. I will say one thing, and maybe a lot of people don't understand. A little doubt's actually healthy. A little bit's actually good. A little bit, right? Because it forces you to examine what you're doing, and I don't think that's entirely a bad thing. But the thing is, where it can get incredibly crippling if you let it keep festering, right? You asking the wrong questions. So when podcast got nominated for the award, that's the first time I really, really dealt with imposter syndrome. So my approach was this: I want to succeed again. That is the objective. First question is, how did this work? Right? And the joking aside about big mouths and all that other wonderful bullshit, right? What I figured out really early on is that I'm an excellent listener. And I talk to people like people. That's the strength of the show. It's always been the strength of the show. So that's what I focus on. That's what I do.
Oh,
What
I love it when people ask me what we're gonna talk about, because I'm like, I'm gonna talk with Josh. I have no idea what we're gonna talk about. I have
I
zero idea. But it's like, yeah, but haven't you done a show with him before? And I'm like, yes, exactly. I know what to expect, which means I don't know what to expect. And it's just,
it's
it's literally having an honest conversation about anything that comes across our way, and just, oh, look at that tangent, and let's walk through that together and
yeah,
give our own perspective of the same thing about the randomest shit,
yeah,
from music to movies to wrestling to boxing to whether a car is gonna hurt more than
yeah. That's
a left hook from or an uppercut from Tyson and stuff like that.
yeah,
And that's something only you can do. I've had random conversations with other people, but the level of what the fuck are we going to talk about that you achieve always, or that we achieve, but I
mhm,
think you do it with everyone that you have on the
yeah,
show. It's
absolutely.
no one. It's like, oh, do you have notes? It's like, no. Do re mi fa sol la si, those are the only notes that I have, dude.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about like stuff. I don't care. Like, and I don't say like a bad way. I say that in I am open to whatever we want to talk about today, and that's it. That's it. Like, but that's it. There's an authenticity with that. I'm not
Mhm.
bullshitting you. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to take you for a ride somewhere, somehow, some way. I want a real person because I believe, and this is something that you said earlier. I think the real secret to this is in today's times with writing, we invest in people. We have the ability to invest in people more. So that's why I enjoy talking to different people because I get a little insight into you. And the thing is, if I can get that connection with you, other people listening and watching can get that connection too. And that I think where I'm trying to establish connection with the people I have on this show. Good, bad, and whether we agree, we disagree, whatever. The thing about it is, right? What matters to me is it's real, it's authentic, it's honest, because that's where we learn. That's where we understand each other. And
And
that's what I love.
it's a lost art, dude.
Yeah.
Having an open conversation with someone, and being willing to disagree and about stuff that's rough.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and
I did that last episode and I didn't mind it at all.
it's good. And people are unwilling. It's like, you're canceled, and it's like, okay. I'm wondering what, if anything, I'll ever do that will get me canceled. There's a couple of things that could get me on a couple of people's shit list, but I go like, really? That's what we're playing at?
I so I had again, the pandemic kind of put this in perspective with me. I have no problem giving my opinion to anybody, and I honestly I say this like this. I don't care that you disagree with me. In fact, great. If you want to cancel me, also great. You wanna know why? Because I would rather deal with people who genuinely want to have a serious conversation. And if you're just going straight to the cancel button because someone says something or posts something or does something that you don't agree with, even if you think I am completely off my fucking rocker, great. Tell me why I'm off my rocker, right?
But which brings me to an interesting question. Do you think that cancel culture is what it is because people just don't have the bandwidth and the attention span to have a proper conversation?
No, I think attention and cancel culture is the result of the fact that there is no um I've said this, there's no consensus in society anymore. And by that I mean it's like when we were kids, whether we agreed with the standard of the world or not, there was a standard. And we all on some level abided by that. Now over the last, I'd say 20 years, it's eroded. Now the thing is, there's no truth or transparency in any of our leadership. Like, this is what this breaks down to. There's no truth. I don't care what party you're on, by the way. I don't give a shit. All right. I don't care what party you're on. Right. There's no truth.
It's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit. But here's the problem. So, since nobody has an idea of what's true or real anymore, what happens is we'll go to one extreme, one tribe or the other tribe and think that my tribe is right and yours is wrong. No matter what. Whereas, okay, me and you might disagree about some things. But at the same time, I can see the merit of what you're saying. And you can maybe see the merit of what I'm saying. We might disagree at the conclusion, but we can understand the road how we got there. Right?
There's also the addiction to needing to win.
Yeah.
And that happens with a lot of people who have narcissistic tendencies and stuff like that, which if they got caught doing something that's wrong, they will flip a conversation to switch the topic and blame someone else and just distance themselves from the topic at hand just to win. And it's like, what did you win?
Well, that's the other thing too. Like it's not about I don't care if I'm right. I think this is the wonderful thing. I have my conclusions of how I think the world works. And I'll fight for what I believe in to a point. But if you can show me that my idea is not perfect or not right or not, whatever the case may be, I'm a big enough man, maybe not right at that moment, but I'm a big enough man to look back on what I'm hearing and reevaluate, right? Reevaluate completely. I'm a big enough man to do that. But I've learned one of the most important lessons I've had is I've detached from my outcomes, right? And what I mean by that is I have ideas on how the world works, but they are just simply that. They are ideas. They're not necessarily correct. And because I have that in my head, I'm open to listening to other people, right? Now, I may not agree with you, but that doesn't mean that it isn't completely invalid either. You walk a different walk than I do, and vice versa. So why would I assume we think the same way? In fact, I'm glad we don't. So the reason I put all this, like, in today's world, I think what's happened is there's a lot more deception than when we were kids. There's a lot more there. I think there's a lot more. I think there's a lot more poverty, and I think what I think, and this is my big. You guys want to think as conspiracy or knock yourself out, but I think what's happened is it's because we've so polarized things. It is easier now to fight each other over nothing than it
But no,
ever was.
if you have people in strife, etc., you can do whatever the hell you want.
Exactly.
And that's what they achieved. The thing is that there is collateral, and we'll be seeing the consequences of that across the board.
We already have. We already are starting
whatever
to see it.
category that you want to pick, and it depends on how nitpicky you want to be. And you see it, and you go like, dude, I don't know. I think we can get better. And then you're out, you're in traffic, and you see people with road rage, and it's like, you go ahead, sir. I definitely have
Well,
less of a need to get there first than you.
okay. So yeah, I've seen that even here. Like I'm still walking. I'm hoping to get my car in July or August. I'm not sure which. Looks like I hit the road August/September, depending on how things work out. But even walking across the street sometimes, right? I will watch cars try to like bypass me because they want to get ahead for a second. This is just me walking across the street, right?
Uh,
And then they'll try to justify it with like a wave, and I'm just looking at them. It's like, yeah, buddy, sure, right. But at the same time, like, but going to what you're saying, I don't need to win. I don't care enough, right?
I don't see that as winning. I once
Yeah.
did. I once did. Sometimes I subject myself to weird projects and experiments, and I once did an experiment of going as fast as possible, speeding, you know, not recklessly driving. It's not like I was Mad Max or
Hmm.
Twisted Metal playing that. But I was definitely not driving the way that I usually ride, which is very conservative, very slow, very right lane. I want to finish the song more than I want to get there earlier. That's who I am. And I saved a total of 6 minutes.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I put myself, I put other people in danger. Not something I wasn't being an absolute asshole, but I was definitely driving a way more aggressive. And obviously, this brings other stuff as well. My blood pressure was probably higher, um, and just other stuff. Probably my stomach, my gastric juices were like firing too. And who knows? And all I got was 6 minutes.
Hmm.
For me, 6 minutes is half a Tool song, half of a lot of Tool songs.
So a buddy of mine who admittedly he was deliberately being a dick to this guy. This guy was trying to speed up by him. So here's the deal. So when my buddy realized that he was being ramrodded by this guy to go faster, so so what he decided to do is when he couldn't legally pass him, he would drive slow on purpose. And then when he got to the lanes were open, he drove fast just so the guy couldn't pass him. He just did that. He did that to prove a point to the
I,
guy. But again,
I've done that. I've done
yeah,
that just because, again, don't be a dick.
yeah. Well, no, that's just it, right? The guy was being unnecessarily aggressive. Again, if you play your cards right, you can pass somebody on the road, right? You don't need to force somebody to go 3,000 miles an hour because they don't want to, right? So, right, and as long as they're not on like a major highway, right, being that slow guy that is killing everybody, really, what doesn't matter how fast a guy goes home.
One of my secrets to fortunately not having
Exactly.
a car. I have been in a car accident, but it's been one, and there was a clear reason. I fell asleep at the wheel because I was an idiot. That's the only time. But if I have to take an exit and I have a car next to me, I don't accelerate to try to get in. I brake and I swerve in after the person. And on certain occasions, some people are just in the mood to be awful, and I've known to have to take another exit, and that's okay as well. It's inconvenient, of course, but I'm not gonna lose a limb over it.
No,
Um, I gotta
it's
make that exit. I gotta make that. I gotta win, and I gotta get that exit. And that is my exit. And you're blocking my exit. Ah, ah, Wolverine. Ah. It's like, hey,
but
get it.
also with people that want to win. My big question with them is how much. I mean, I'm a see again. I'm a grown ass man. I realize how little I'm in control of life. Like and I'm okay with it. I've made my peace with it. But some people don't have that built into them, and I sometimes think sometimes this desire to win is that desire for recognition on some level that they matter in some way, right? And when I put it when I think about it like that, I actually feel sorry for people that want to win all the time, right?
Because when they don't win, it breaks them.
Yeah,
And and I don't like doing many competitive things just because I don't like what it brings out in me. It's there and I know that it's there, but it's stuff that I don't necessarily want to tap into because I don't like how I feel. And it's there, that competitive edge and that will to win, and that it's all there, and it can tap into some parts of me that I really dislike, and I go like, I'd rather not.
I'm somewhere in the middle on that. I can see where that stuff's valuable, but I also again, but at what, but there's a point too. Like, okay, this is gonna go random. I love Magic the Gathering. I just built myself another commander deck. Now here's the
Okay.
thing. Here's the thing. The deck's not designed necessarily to win every game. But at the same time, I don't want to be the first one eliminated every game either, right? And so there's a little bit of a I'm going to play just good enough that I don't get the first. I'm the first one out, right? Right. So I mean I don't like to again and again this is a little part of me. It's like I don't mind losing. I don't need to be the big winner, but I don't always want to be the first guy out either.
No,
You know.
for me, when I tried to play Fortnite, people were like, "Oh, look at this noob," and he's just, and I didn't know how to play, and they were like, just making fun of me. But I was the last one who got eliminated in that. Someone who doesn't know how to play the game, and I still lasted longer than you. So okay, so I was sloppy doing it. That's like trying to bash someone because they did a wonky, ugly half court shot, but they still made it. It's like still made the shot, dude.
Oh yeah, no. Actually, I have a fun magic story. A buddy of mine, we were playing like, yeah, fair enough, Anita. Sorry, I don't mind a little A little competition can be healthy. It can bring out good things in you. It can actually bring out sometimes your best stuff, right? A little. There's a balance though. Like I said, right? My last magic story. So I was playing on this was online I was playing with a buddy, right? I wanted my buddy to win. I didn't care. I didn't want my buddy to win. So when it's over, I had this like guy message me over the system. Why did you play like that? It's like I could have won it. It's like I didn't need to win. I was playing for my buddy. So he called me out to a match. I spanked him. Right.
It's
Yeah.
okay. I like to see competitive bodyboarding, but I like to see it when they don't have to resort to tactics where it gets dirty.
Yo, no. Again, I get it. Like again, this is where I say like competitive. I think a little bit of a competitive edge is good. A little bit. You don't need to. So you know my sister, right?
Yes,
Right. Yeah.
I was gonna tell you before the show ended to send my best to Ray.
I will. But I'll tell you a really fun story. When we hang out, we play cards. Okay. Now, here's the thing. She almost always kicks my ass in cribbage. Almost always. She's real. No, she's fantastic at the game. I'm good, but she's admittedly better. Where I destroy her is rummy. Rummy. But the thing is, when we play rummy, when we play rummy, she'll compete. She's actually more competitive than I am. Right? She's more competitive than I am. But there's a little bit of a big brother in me. I enjoy watching her lose because just how she reacts. Just how she reacts. Cribbage is fun, but my sister's amazing at it. Like legit, she's fantastic at it, Anita. Like she'll destroy you. But the thing is, I personally, it's not even that I beat her. I don't care that I win. I just enjoy watching her lose. There's a little bit of that look, right. And it's not because it's because just how she reacts. She's just more competitive than I am, right? For the most part. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because I also look at what she's done and how she's accomplished things in her life. And I'm like, that competitive edge probably helped her. It's just in this particular circumstance, It's
Uh,
amusing to me, right?
when I'm playing a video game that's busting my ass, there is that competitive nature that says I
Mhm.
need to pass this stage. I need to do the thing. I need to get that star. And it's grueling. It's grueling and it's frustrating. And you're like, oh my God, I need to do this. And I don't want to cheat. I don't want to look for an FAQ. I don't want to walk through. I want to do it. I want to do it. God damn it. And I can do it. Because if a 12-year-old can do it, I've been gaming most of my life. I can do it. And then you do it and you're like, ah! It's Super Meat Boy, Celeste, um, a Guacamele. These platforms, Mario per excellence. In Mario Odyssey, I passed most of the game, but there's a last stage that, oh Lord, it's like, oh, so you think you're it's like the designer saying, so you think you're a gamer?
Oh yeah,
Try this on for size.
Mario. Every Mario game has one level that's
That is
designed to break you. It's designed for it. They have one, always one, right? The rest of them, yeah, they're not impossible, but sometimes it's patience, sometimes it's a little bit of figuring out where the right spot on the platform. But everyone,
but
but
sometimes the camera, dude, it's like, dude, please cooperate.
so
Don't shift. It's like, I'm gonna shift. I'm Mario 64. Your worst enemy is not you. It's not the game. It's the camera.
the camera, no, that's the worst when it's not under your control. Like you can live with it if you suck, but when the
No,
game does it to you,
and Jack, in regards to Celeste, I passed the game, but the extra bonus levels, I tapped out because I was getting heart palpitations because it is so crazy intense. You know, it's I got to jump and dash and get at something that recharges me so that I can dash and then jump and then get another thing so that it recharges so that I can double jump so that I can dash and it's
so
like the level of flow that you have, and then you pass that part and it's like, okay, now we have one that's worse, and it's like, Hollow
so
Knight. Hollow Knight is another one that, oh Lord, it busts your balls.
so for me, it's two games from the PS2 era. Devil May Cry 3.
Oh
So
Lord,
oh,
no, no, dude.
I beat it. I
Oh
beat it.
Lord,
It took me.
those are bragging rights.
Yeah. I beat that game. That game, first time. So you suck when you realize that the first boss you fight in that game is actually a regular monster later in the game, and
Oh
it's
Lord,
crazy. Like that's how far. And they go, and there's the game is just dickish enough that when you die, inevitably you do die the first time. They unlock. That's when they unlock easy. So it's like pisses you off even more. The
no.
other one. So I'm a big Persona guy. I love the Persona series.
You told me. I've looked
Yeah,
it
yeah.
up, but I'm right now. I'm lost in Tears of the Kingdom. So
No, no,
we'll
no.
see when
Which
I
from what
emerge
I've
from
heard,
that.
which I hear is fantastic. But this is the one that broke me. This is the one that broke me. The Persona 3 bonus boss. Holy shitballs. I am not ashamed to admit this. I used to guide. She was ridiculously hard. Like ridiculous, right?
When it gets to a point where I've been at it like an hour and I'm still not progressing, and I don't see that. Sometimes you see that you're learning patterns and you're getting a little better, and then you have a bad run, and you have to start over again, and then you get a little better, and then you have a bad run and stuff like
So
that. That's fine. But when you're stuck, then I'll go like, okay, what am I doing wrong? And then you see the solution, and you go like, ah, dude, fuck you,
no, no, no.
seriously.
So she was designed to be difficult on purpose,
Mhm.
right? Like just difficult. The pattern is repetitive. It's the only thing that goes in your favor. Everything else, you attack once, she attacks twice. It is one of the most brutal. I'm not even kidding. It's one of the most brutal fights I've ever been in. And and then I made the mistake of bringing the whole party in to fight her. That was even worse. So I realized so I actually I will acknowledge this. I went with the guide on this, and it still was hard. Like this was designed to be like this mega uber challenge. It lived
Mhm.
up to the hype. Also, probably the most terrifying line dialogue I've ever heard. The boss goes, "I may make my living as an elevator attendant, but I know a great deal about inflicting pain." She does. That is like
Mother.
that line is just like, what the hell, right? And
No.
and she just, oh, she worked me so hard. But again, I at one point I was like that kind of gamer. Now I still enjoy those. Like, I still love playing those games. I don't have time for it anymore though. So
No, I'm making time. I'm making and I'm losing and I'm investing and oh Lord, all the time for the Legend of Zelda. The thing is that the level of satisfaction I'm getting from it, and I actually have two notes. One is burnout and the other one is projects. Um, Dude, I hit everything so hard in March and April that I'm still kind of reeling. And people have asked me, so when are you gonna do that? And I'm like, I'll get back to you on that.
yeah,
Okay.
no, it's fair. So here's the thing. I have an internal debate: Switch or Steam Deck. That's basically been my debate for the last couple months because I am a big fan of both, right? A lot of games, there are games on the Steam that are just for the Steam. There are games for the Switch that are just for the Switch. And there's
I,
games on both I will like. It's like, for example, Tears of the Kingdom, Switch.
yeah,
Right? Right. That's Switch. I can play Persona 5. I can play Tales of Arise. I can play some of those other games I really like on there. On the other hand, I already got a bunch of games on Steam. So it's like, but it's a debate, right? So
I think the honest answer is that there's no wrong answer.
apparently Jack said Steam Deck.
Oh, I agree about the Joy-Con drift. It will be more costly, but the exclusive and the thing is, I've been a Nintendo boy for a long while. And I am extremely versus other consoles that I've had. I'm extremely satisfied with Switch, and because of the pandemic, I also switch. Uh, some things you just switch up, switch, and buying digitally. That's been my go-to for a long while, and it's opened up the access to so many other things and so many games. And it's like I see a game that is 199 and I'm like, okay, let's check it out. And then I find out that it's a gem. And I go like, why was this 199? Because people won't give it the time of day if it's not 199. And I'm like, that is sad.
No, it's weird how that works. No, I have some games like that are on here that are really good. But it's so, like I said, like that's gonna be my road. Like in between stuff on the road, it's gonna be like me. I'm gonna be gaming in the middle of nowhere sometimes, and I realize that, and I'm okay with that.
Well,
Right.
for you, I'd say the Steam, just because it'll probably open up the opportunity to talk to more
Mm,
different and
y-
interesting people, just because of that nature, and it can
mm,
also feed into what you do.
yeah.
That's where I would go for that. For me, I will always choose Nintendo
Hey,
because I am a mark and I am a fanboy.
so okay. All time favorite video game. We'll end because we made a promise for 90 minutes. We are at 92. So
We're in that
let's.
dude. Okay.
And I'll tell you mine.
I think in terms of just also emotional impact and just formative and stuff like that. The Legend of Zelda series is always gonna be there. Um, but I would have to go to my teens, and when I go to my teens, Final Fantasy 6 and also Final Fantasy 3. In terms of storytelling, that game still holds up, and I played it
Yes, it
like
does.
4 or 5 years ago, and I was like, this is still so good.
So I got the extended version with the secret dungeons and stuff. There's a couple secret espers, dungeons, bosses. It's
Dude,
really, really
and
they
the music, because again, the music of the Legend of Zelda is magical. It's always gonna be there. But when you go to that 16-bit era and you see Final Fantasy 6 and you see Secret of Mana, those two soundtracks, if you see Chrono
fantastic.
Trigger,
Yeah, Chrono Trigger
um,
is on my list too.
and I'm going for RPGs because these are games that I spent a lot of time with, a shit ton of time with, and
So
it
you
never felt like I was wasting time or anything.
so Final Fantasy 6 is still on my all-time favorite list. I 7's my favorite Final Fantasy game overall, but the story in 6 is still awesome. I love the bad guy wins. I love that he wins,
No,
right?
and the bad guy in Final Fantasy VI is one of the best villains ever. Yes, Sephiroth is epic and the music goes, yes, I get all that shit, but Kefka is a motherfucker.
No,
And
Kefka's
oh,
the
dude,
equivalent of the Joker, like legit.
it's um, I don't know if Corridors of Time, Jag. That to me is like writing music that I put it on and I can leave that on loop
I
for
I
like an
I I I
hour.
I love the um so I love the Hidden Tower, like the Secret with Society song. Maybe that's Banks of the Dream, right?
Mm,
That might be that. But I also love Robo Song. Robo Song was really fun in that. Like there's some really Chrono Trigger is just fun.
no,
It felt like it didn't have it never quite felt like it got to the same gravity point as Final Fantasy, but it felt like a rocking good game all the way through, and all the endings are so fun, all of them.
for for me, the magical thing about Chrono Trigger is that it's the first RPG that has proper replay value.
Yeah.
That
Also,
you will be rewarded by playing it multiple times.
so my personal favorite is when I played on the in the first repeat, I went and fought Ultros right away. Like the day, like I went right out. I was like, screw it, I'm gonna see if I can beat him now. But because in the when you do the first replay, you can literally do it right at the first time machine if you want to. But it's no, it's an amazing game. Like for me from that. Okay, so multiplayer, I'm always gonna say Super Mario Kart. Right, I'm always gonna say Super Mario Kart because for me, Mario Kart was ultimately about I still remember growing up, like, that was the game I played with my dad all the time. Especially the 64 version. Oh, man. Even to this day, we could still go at it, and we still would have good matches. Street Fighter is the other multiplayer game because that was the one I was phenomenal at. I literally
But
could go to
which
arcades and
one?
all of them up until Alpha 3
Okay.
because I could smash anybody in those games. I had gotten to a point where I was legitimately sparring with a Caribbean champion in my college days. I was sparring with him. He was better than me, but I was holding my own, right? So it wasn't like no. The first time we actually had a fun round, right? I got him in a round, and all of a sudden he smiled because he could fight. He fought somebody he didn't have to hold back with.
Yeah.
Oh man. So because because when you're that good, it's hard to find people that can keep up and think the way you
Yeah.
do in these games. We could like he was better, but it wasn't
Sometimes you could surprise them.
yeah, well, yeah, sometimes, right? So I was good at fighting. There was a point in time with fighting games, I was untouchable. That's not true anymore, but there was a point in time,
Well,
legit, yeah.
nowadays people physically train. I've seen people who are esports gamers, which it still baffles me that people can make that amount of money playing video
Oh,
games.
sure,
Um, and people go like, "Man, that fight was epic," and it's like, okay, what are you talking about? Like some boxing? No, it was a versus fight on Street Fighter Five. Two people played, and it was a stalemate for 7 minutes. And I'm like, wow, what an interesting time to be alive where that's a thing, and people are genuinely excited.
yeah,
And
no,
people go like, oh, that's bullshit. It's like go to one of those things and see people playing and tell me you're not gonna get invested.
oh no, they're fantastic. The thing about me now, I still don't know what to do a lot of the times. Like this is just where I'm at. I still know what to do, but I don't have the muscle memory anymore to do it well, right? Because I'm out of practice. You to get that kind of skill again would take me about a year, and that's just
And
being real. right?
But again, for games, I don't need to pass on the hardest difficulty. I need to pass it, and I need to not pass it on easy.
Mm-hmm.
I need it normal. I need what's the intended purpose of the game for the most for what most people are gonna. I need to pass it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Some people go like for the psycho version. It's like, nah, dude, I have enough stress and enough tension. I don't need to add to that.
Yeah.
So I'm probably never gonna play Devil May Cry 3.
No, you shouldn't, because that game's psycho. Like I beat it, right? But
If I beat Cuphead, I'll play Devil May Cry 3.
okay. So my warning about Devil May Cry 3. This is my warning. You don't unlock easy mode until you die 3 times, and you will die 3 times. I'm going to promise you that.
Yeah,
Especially if you play this version. Oh no, it's nasty. Devil May Cry 3 in North America was actually harder, Jag, than it was in Japan. Yeah.
No, and Cuphead, I couldn't. I played it, and I was like, knowing what I have to do and what it takes to be able to pass that game. It's like, fuck it, can I do that? And so far the answer is no. I've been more willing to tackle other games, but Cuphead is just you have to be super precise with jumps and shots, and you have to shoot twice. You can't shoot a third time; you're gonna get hit. You can't shoot 4 times. You can't sneak one more. It's a game about of patience.
Yep.
And I don't necessarily have that when I'm gaming.
So, Jag, I'm going to answer this, and then we're going to wrap up, because I made promise I wouldn't go past JD's bedtime. But here's the thing: like Devil May Cry 3 is the really hard one. Most of the rest of them are fun. They're action packed. My personal favorite of them all is the Ninja Theory one. Right there. That one is surprisingly. I'm a Matrix fan. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be perfectly blunt. And the Ninja Theory borrows. Yeah. By the way, she compliments your artwork and background there. But
which
one?
Which one? There's a lot to pick from.
Yeah, but
there's Chris Cornell. There's Eddie Vedder. There's the Joker. There's something that's like a Floating Stars. There's another Joker, and this is Tom Waits.
So in my so I had
you.
this. So in my storage locker, I currently have Pong, Invader Zim. I have Macho Man Randy Savage. I have like I have a Rock Stars thing from a friend of mine named Megan. I have some good stuff, but like I said, when I go to wherever I'm supposed to be next, yeah. Yes, he does. He generally does. But yeah, no, good art is good art. Mr. JD. So next time we do this, it's going to be in person.
It's going to be in person. When are you going to come down?
Or
when am I going to go up? I don't know. One day I have to do one Worlds Collide. It's not going to be this year.
You won't. I don't know if you're going to get another chance or not. I've heard rumblings this might be the last one Words. It's definitely the last with the current group. So I don't know if they're going to. Yeah, this is why I'm going. Otherwise, I probably would not go. It's not, like I said, Calgary for me was very difficult to connect to people again. Not everybody wanted to, and it was amazing how many people didn't want to. And yeah, true story, Jack. This was it, and I made it a point. To go this time, because it's going to be my last chance, and there's 2 things I'm going to miss. Again, they might come back in some form. It might go. Oh no! Don't be sorry, Jay. Something that, like, everything has a point of ending. Everything. So you got to remember. So what you got to recognize in these good things that you do have, that these moments are real, and enjoy them, and take that moment to really appreciate the people you meet and the places you're at. That's the real thing. Like, nothing lasts forever. We all have this illusion that everything's going to maintain the same thing. It always has. It never does. This is kind of why, this was why I was so quick wanting to reconnect with people here, because I realized that this was a moment in time I was here. I wasn't going to have that again. But whatever happens, right? Whatever happens, you appreciate the people in your life and make it a point to say thank you, which is why I'm going for the last time. It's a thank you, right? For me, because this is where I opened some doors for me, but also, um, it's a way for me to give back as well, right? And that's what I'm doing. I'm going to show people, I'm going to teach people the mindset required to succeed at whatever they choose, whatever that looks like for you. I'm going to try to help people find their confidence. And that, I think, is a worthwhile endeavor. And I'm hoping that the one thing, again, as this show goes towards its twilight, as it currently is, right, that people get from it. And I wanted to say to you, Mr. JD, thanks for everything, man.
Thank you. It's been awesome to see you connect with quite a few people that it's like, hey, touch base with that person, because you're like the dream scenario in that sense. You've connected very awesomely with some people, and when you see like-minded people and cool people that connect because you just went like, hey, give that a shot, and you see it pan out, part of you go like, it's a win. That's a win.
That's the real win. We have honestly, like, more important, I think the most important thing is you have an opportunity in this life to touch people, connect with people, and make an impact.
Yeah.
And that is our real gift. So the biggest lesson I've learned in this life is people matter. Even if they don't believe it themselves, they do. Your job, if there is such a thing, is to convince the people around you that you want in your life that they are important and they are worthwhile, because that encourages those people to shine. And then and everything you see in them then comes out, and it's a wonderful thing.
And sometimes, dude, one word of kindness, one freaking word of kindness, one word of kindness can right the way.
Mhm.
It is, and it's incredible. Some people are unwilling to give you that.
Sometimes, Jack, I'm not even being self-deprecating. I'm not even being self-deprecating. I have my moments. I just try to do the best I can. That's it.
Hey,
Right. Yeah, that's it. And that is all I try to do. I know how I want to be treated, and I try to treat people the same. That's it.
yeah,
That's it.
don't be a dick. The
Right.
golden rule.
Generally, or if you have to be a dick, either be one of two things: be an entertaining one, or two, just to protect yourself.
I
Just to
don't know.
protect you.
There are always situations where it is actually beneficial to be that way. And sometimes I've written about it. Sometimes it's really good to mute, unfollow, or block.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to take everyone's absolute bullshit all the time.
No, actually, you have to. Actually, the one truth is you don't take anyone's shit at all. That's the
I
one
agree.
truth.
But sometimes some shit you go like, ah, shit, I learned from that. Ah, fuck.
Oh
Okay.
no! Listen, I have no problem. I have no problem telling my failures to the world, because honestly, it's how you. Again, it's how you learn. You don't learn. You don't learn if it's all hunky dory. You learn going through the ups and downs, right? That is always the way it is. But I did want to say, Mr. JD, you definitely have helped me open some doors, and I would not be where I am without you. So I did want you on here before this, if nothing else, to say thank you. As to when I'm going to be in Atlanta, it's going to come down to two things. I am going to my buddy's wedding up here in Calgary at the end of September. So I'm probably going to be on the West Coast for most of the fall, winter. It'll
Okay.
probably be springtime next year. Probably.
Okay.
So because of your, how shall I say, your schedule hell, let's make it so like around May.
We'll see how that goes. And also, I might there is a chance that I will be going to Canada next year for a friend's wedding.
Oh,
So
nice. Whereabouts?
Edmonton.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I
What what what
I
what
I,
what
I
what,
have I have no idea.
what
I
time of
know
year?
that
What time of year?
October.
I'm just going to give, this is just the only tiny piece of advice I'm going to give you. be prepared to dress warm just in case.
I know. I know that you guys live in a tundra, and then
Yeah, but if you've never experienced it, I'm just going to warn you up front. It will. You might again October. You might get lucky. Like October is a roulette wheel. Sometimes there is no snow, and it's great. Sometimes it's completely a tundra by the time you get here. It can be, and it's year to year. It's random. So what I'm going to say is, just bring it up. Just be prepared, just in case.
I am very conscious of the challenges that we might face. The idea is anyways to have a good time. But
Yeah, have a no. And if I'm in, depending on my contract situation with certain people, and depending on some things, I may be in the area. Maybe we hang out. Maybe we hang out, or maybe I see you in Atlanta because I'll probably, like I said, I already have a
I think
plan.
that'll happen before.
Yeah, I think that will happen before because I'm going to be going through the West Coast for the fall winter, and I'm going to be going to the East Coast in the spring for sure. I'm
Yeah.
good. Depending on how timing works out on certain things, I may. There is a small chance I might be going with a buddy to a football game in the East Coast, but we'll see. It's not a big chance because of the way things are, but there's a chance because
Okay.
one of my guests we just talk football all the time, so it's kind of fun.
Okay.
Yeah. So, do you got something you want to promote before we wrap up, or?
I haven't given this as much love as I should. I will start with your show. This is the second installment of the Daydreams on the Sherbet Shore. If you're curious what the first book looks like, it's like this. As you can see, there's an evolution. As you can see, the cover is gorgeous. These are whimsical short stories that are like Peter Pan meets Willy Wonka, and then it takes place in the world of dreams.
Nice.
It is probably the kindest book I've ever written. Um, when you see and you read a character called JD, that is moi, because I invite different people so that we can go on an adventure. And when I say that this is the kindest book, it is for several reasons. One, I did like a metaphor of a really good friend of mine who was actually going through cancer treatment. You're not if I tell you that that the plot elements are because of cancer, you will go like, oh wow. But if not, it's just a whimsical, smile-inducing adventure. These are meant to leave you with a smile, no stress, no violence. It's a lot of kindness. If you read Spanish and you want all the violence, any character who appears in Penumbra, he's screwed. He or she, he or she is screwed. People have asked me if I'm going to translate that. I don't know. Maybe, or maybe I just keep it in Spanish to force people to learn how to speak Spanish, and then they'll have to learn how to write Puerto Rican.
Okay. Last. So is there a big difference between Mexican and Puerto Rican in terms of Spanish?
Yes. And from country to country, there's the dialect. It is drastic. If you think there's a difference between New Zealand, Australia, UK, Canada, and the US,
Is that
from
same kind? Yeah.
yeah, it's bigger. It's a bigger gap.
Oh,
More countries, but it's a bigger gap to the point that if I talk to Puerto Rican people that speak Spanish won't understand me if they're not from
really?
Puerto Rico. Absolutely, absolutely, and not. I'm not.
No, no, I
I'm
believe
probably
you.
downplaying this. I was
No.
someone who I know. He's half German, half Spanish. I'm a lively guy, and the thing is that I speak pretty quickly. In English, I speak at a good cadence. In Spanish, I go fast. And he's like, dude, I appreciate your enthusiasm. I love your energy, and I didn't understand one word that you said. Can you
That's
try
fair.
that again?
That is the best way to ask that, in my opinion. So, to anybody listening to you or watching you, where can they find you?
JD Estrada writer. I'm on Twitter ish. I'm still I'm still posting, but the algorithm is being awful, and people on Twitter are getting weird. So that's not the best place to follow me. Best place to follow me is on Instagram. I will be retaking the YouTube channel. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. If you click JD Estrada writer and you see this mug or something like this, c'est moi. So by all means, say hi, get in touch. I love connecting with people from around the world. I love talking books. I love talking video games. I love talking boxing. I love doing all sorts of random stuff and doing stuff for people's entertainment and my edification. Like trying random stuff on my Tasty Tuesdays. To give you one example of what I do during the week, I try to keep it light. I'm not super big into promoting. I will do better at it because people have said, dude, what about your books? Promote your books. And I'm like, you got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the places to follow me.
And he really should. He's actually a fantastic writer. I got a couple of it. I had to put them. I had to put a couple of those books back in stores because it's that time. But I kept your books, which says a lot because I didn't keep everybody's books, right? So
It means a lot.
yeah. All right, folks. So that is for the episode here. So I'm going to do this proper. Since I should be advertising as well. So if you want to know what my podcast is going to look like post episode 1000, specifically, I'll just reveal it's here, post 1004. You can definitely check this out right now. This is my Patreon. On my Patreon, you can actually get a a novel written by me for $1 a month, or for $5 a month, you can get that and watch the new shows as they're being released now. Right? So you have to go check that out if you want to support the show in any way, shape, or form and short my word journeys. This month I have next month coming up, I have musician Eminent Reyes, and I also have Angela Ackerman as the two shows that that you can see in advance. Angela's my first show outside the city, so it was kind of fun to do that. But that will do it, ladies and gentlemen. I got a fun one tomorrow. Dirk Manning's joining the show tomorrow night. But for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark.